Ah, that was a tough one. That was a tough game, man. Sad stuff. I'll get started here in just a couple of minutes. Yeah. Why do sports break your heart? They just do. I say this all the time. It's like hope. Hope is a funny thing because the second you get hope is when you get hurt the most. But it could have been a lot worse. This whole game, that's kind of the theme of this game, is it could have been a lot worse. The Kings obviously allowed 89 points in that first half. That's less than ideal, I would say. That's a franchise record for most points allowed in a single half. Again, not ideal. But with that being said, for them to claw back in the second half, make this a 5-point game at the end of it, you can't be happy about a performance like that at all. But it definitely showed that they did not give up on this game at all, and it was interesting that they kept it to me. It was interesting to me that they were able to keep this game to around 15 to 20 point deficit for a majority of that second half before eventually making the run in the mid to late fourth quarter that brought this game. It made it pretty intense. Yeah, the defense was definitely not there in the first half. The Warriors, I believe, they had 50 points in that second quarter. That is exactly this comment right here. Same Kings as every year. That's definitely some bad Kings DNA creeping into this team, and we've seen that for stretches this year so far. Definitely Mike Brown being a defensive-minded head coach. You were hoping to kind of see that end of the floor be a little better for sure. And I think they have made strides. I think the effort is definitely there. Like I said earlier, I think the fact that they didn't let this game really get out of hand speaks to me, at least from an effort side, that they didn't really feel like this game was ever completely over. The Kings offensively, if I can talk about their offense for a second, actually was pretty good all game. They were always hovering above 50% for a majority of this game. They could not hit a three to save their life, and I think that definitely contributed to the deficit getting so large. The Warriors shot the lights out the entire game. They were above 60% for, I think, 3 quarters, finished 51%. And, the free throw thing definitely brought its head around this game as well. The Kings only missed 5 free throws today after missing 11 in yesterday's game against the Clippers, and that really doomed them yesterday. And you can't really ever expect to go 100% from the free throw line, but if the Kings make those 5 free throws, we're looking at a tie ball game here, and obviously you can't really play that game. The Warriors had a really tough free throw shooting night. I don't think I've ever seen Jordan Poole miss 2 free throws consecutively. He missed 2 free throws. They missed 10 as a team, so that's that's something that I'm sure Steve Kerr will look at. But it was a very interesting game. You obviously can't feel good about this performance in total. The 89 points in the first half. It was another night in which the Kings couldn't stop the other team's star player. I mean, last night you had to know with Paul George and John Wall. I'm sorry, with Kawhi Leonard and John Wall out yesterday, you had to know that the Clippers were going to look to go Paul George's way, and they did repeatedly. And they just couldn't stop him. I think it wasn't quite the same story today with Stephen Curry. I think yesterday the Kings actually played really good defense on Paul George, and he was just hitting a lot of tough shots. But, man, there was way too many times today where I feel like Steph Curry just kind of did what Steph Curry does, and he got loose. He was open a lot. The Kings got killed on his patented little there's a lot of arm pushing when Steph does his little step back, but Steph seemed to get them on that move 5 or 6 times. And that's Steph Curry. He I'm looking. They're showing his stats right now on the jumbotron. He was 11 of 22, 7 of 12 from three. The dude can shoot. The dude shot the lights out. The Warriors as a team, just especially in that first half, felt like they couldn't miss. Andrew Wiggins had a couple threes. Jordan Poole, I thought, kept the lead for the Warriors in that third quarter. Just super. I don't know how many times I could say this, but like just a super interesting game. I don't know if I've seen a game like this before, where you just get absolutely killed in that first half. In saying that, the Kings played really well offensively in the first half. They scored 71 points. If you score 71 points in a first half, you're going to be up, I guess I would say 99 out of 100 times. And this is that one time where it didn't happen. And it was just, at the end of the day, it was just too big of a deficit. Definitely not something Mike Brown's going to be happy about. He's definitely going to have a lot of material to go over with this team. And something tells me it's not going to be a fun film session tomorrow or whenever it is that they're watching film. If I can get to some positives from tonight, I feel like I have been relatively positive about this game so far. But to me, the biggest standout from tonight was, again, same standout as yesterday for the Kings. De'Aaron Fox continues to just be incredible. He had 22 points tonight. No, I'm sorry. That was at the end of the third quarter. He finished off with 26 points, 10 assists, 5 rebounds, 11 to 20 shooting. Again, head of the snake. They continue to call him that for a reason. I mean, this team will go as far as De'Aaron Fox went. And the thing that's really encouraging to me that I've seen from De'Aaron is his defense. That he was criticized, I would say rightfully so, for his career so far of being a bad defender. And it's not even that he doesn't have the tools to be a good defender, as we're seeing now. It's more just the lapses. He just. I mean, you can put the blame on the offensive burden, but I think in reality it's just he falls asleep sometimes, and even today he fell asleep a couple times on some backdoor cuts. But you're seeing a lot of him staying active in the passing lanes. Getting hands in when people are driving. Yesterday, Mike Brown made a point to point out De'Aaron getting vertical at the end of the game. I can't remember who was attacking the rim, but De'Aaron had a vertical contest that was excellent, and he had another one today. Just really, really good stuff from De'Aaron Fox. Love to see him really taking on that challenge of being a two-way player. And if he can continue to do that, I mean, again, this probably isn't the right team to, the Warriors aren't the right team to try and get right against. But I think if De'Aaron Fox continues to play this way, we're gonna start seeing some wins in that win column soon. However, saying that, I do have written down here the Kings not their remaining schedule, but their schedule ahead. For the next 11 games I have written down here. And if I could, let's see if I can do this, share my screen, and we will go to, let's see here. Okay. Boom, boom, bang, boom. Let's look at the Kings remaining, or not, I keep saying remaining schedule. Let's look at the Kings schedule looking ahead here, because it is brutal. I mean, the Kings obviously are starting 0-3 here. And where they can get their win is a very, very good question. They have Memphis at home on Thursday. Obviously, Ja Morant and De'Aaron Fox's rivalry has been a big thing throughout Ja's career so far. De'Aaron has actually bested him in a lot of their matchups that they've had so far, but obviously Ja has kind of taken his game to a whole nother level in the past year and a half or so. So it'll be very, very intriguing to see how that matchup goes on Thursday. That's the Kings' next game. And then they play the Miami Heat, who I believe are still looking for their first win of the season. So that they're looking to get right. They're going to come into Golden One Center, not overlooking the Kings, trying to get themselves right. So that's not going to be an easy game. The Heat did get their first win yesterday against the Raptors. So the Heat are still going to be looking for wins. Charlotte might be that place where the Kings can get that first win of the season. That's definitely one of the weaker teams, especially considering this whole slate here. Then they go at Miami, at Orlando. Then we're seeing these Warriors again on Monday, November 7th, right here at Chase Center. For those who don't know, I guess I didn't really point that out. I am here live at Chase Center. It was a really, really cool opportunity. I've not been in this arena yet, and it sure is pretty. Let me tell you, it is. It's different than Golden One. In all, it's like I don't want to say it's a step up from Golden One. It's obviously a well-funded building. That's what I will say. It'd be like if Golden One was in the Bay Area, pretty much. It's a very, very beautiful stadium. They have this open end over here. It's really pretty. But yeah, they will be back in Golden State on Monday, November 7th. Then they'll take on the Cleveland Cavaliers, who obviously with the addition of Donovan Mitchell. I actually have never done that mix-up before, so that's a first. Donovan Mitchell, the Kings will be playing him at Golden One Center on November 9th. Then they have at the Lakers. We know that should be a win. The Lakers are looking very, very weak, and the Kings need to win that game. Then, again, the Golden State Warriors. Just cannot get away from this team. I mean, what a brutal schedule this is. And then, of course, having to play Brooklyn on Tuesday after that. And then after that, the schedule kind of lightens up. You get the San Antonio, Detroit, Memphis again, Atlanta, Boston. I say it lightens up. And then you have this little stretch right here, which isn't great. Indiana. The NBA is hard. That's my takeaway from looking at this Kings schedule right here. There's not going to be a lot of easy games here for the Kings to pick up. But it's here, let's stop sharing the screen there. My bigger point is the Kings cannot afford to lose games that are easy wins, if you will. It's I don't know if it's quite Sactones puts in here. It's time to tank for Victor Wembanyama. I don't know if we're quite at that point. But something that we might accidentally slip into at some point here if they can't pick up some wins. And it's going to be really tough. But I also did do a little bit of research, and I looked at last year's playoff and play-in teams to see if there was any of those teams that also got off to a tough start and were able to turn it around late in the season. And I was really surprised, actually, at some of the teams that didn't start off too hot. The Grizzlies last year started 6-7 through their first 13 games. They finished 56-26. I don't know if we can expect something like that. A team that the Kings have, as a franchise or as an organization this year, have definitely pointed to wanting to be like this year's Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves last season started 4-9, ended off the season 46-36 as the 7th seed. So if the Kings again can pick up some wins here against Charlotte, Orlando, Lakers, maybe sneak another win in there, they can start off the season 4-9. And again, like there's teams that have turned it around. The Spurs. There's also the Spurs of last year who started 4-9 and finished 34-48. Good enough for the 10 seed though. And then there's the real outlier. The real outlier. Let's hope the Kings don't have to pull this one off. But the Pelicans last year started 1-12 in their first 13 games. 1-12. And they finished 36-46. Definitely not that impressive, but was good enough for the 9 seed and was good enough to get them in that play-in tournament. So I think what I learned from that is, yeah, we're probably going to get off to a pretty rough start here, but by no means do we need to call this a season. And things are not over. Even when they're going to look bad, they're not over. The past 2 seasons, the Kings have not had a team this talented on paper, and they've still almost made the play in the past 2 seasons without even really trying that hard to form a playoff competitive roster. And with the talent on this roster this season, there's no reason to me why they can't still sneak into a 10 seed, and boy, oh boy, does that not, there's probably 25 teams in the NBA who, if you tell them you're aiming for a 10 seed here, they're going to be incredibly disappointed. But we know that as a Sacramento Kings fan, you got to take what you can get at this point. And, they're just trying to claw their way into the play-in. We know that that's the goal, is for the team to make the playoffs this year. And, it's not, it's going to look bad to start, but it's not over as tough as it seems. Of the next 10 games, the Kings play 6 of 9 probable playoff teams, and I'm not counting Charlotte, Orlando, or the Lakers. So, it's a really, really tough stretch of games that the Kings have coming up. But they're going to have to find some wins. And if they, the 89-point first half set aside, I think if they continue to play the way that they've been playing, especially on this back-to-back here against two really, let's not forget that the Clippers and the Warriors are probably two teams that are going to be playing in April in the Western Conference Championship. Like, these are two incredibly good teams that the Kings just lost to. I think by a combined score of like 7 points. I don't have it in front of me. Let me do some quick math here. Let me pull up the Kings games. They have lost by 5, 2, and 7. Real quick math, that's 14 points if I'm not mistaken. Let me do that math again. 2, 7, 2 more is 9, 14 points in 3 games. I think that's not bad. Obviously it's not good. It shows that the Kings could really use some help in late game execution. I thought De'Aaron had some pretty questionable shots down the stretch here that, I would ideally like for them to try and hunt for a better shot. But, it's really promising to lose to the two teams that they have lost to on this back-to-back. It's nothing to really be ashamed of or feel too down on yourself. Obviously, you can feel down about yourself about the way that this game went down. But at the end of the day, again, they kept fighting. They were clawing in it. And they made it a game at the end of the day. And, Mike Brown yesterday in his post-game press conference said there's no such thing as moral victories, and there absolutely isn't. But you have, especially when you give up 89 points, you have to take something positive. And I think the fact that they were able, again, to not give up on this game, make it a game at the end, that's a positive that I'm going to take from here. A lot of people are talking about individuals in the chat. I do think that some people do need to be mentioned here for sure. The continued struggles of Davion Mitchell are very apparent, at least to me. Tonight he played 12 minutes, had 7 points, 3 assists, got in super, super early foul trouble. I think he had 4 fouls in like the going into like the first or second minute of the second quarter. Obviously, that's not ideal, especially when we really could have used Davion tonight to go man-to-man against Steph Curry. That's kind of like the exact reason why you have a player like Davion Mitchell on this roster, is to throw him at Steph Curry and ideally just make his day as difficult as possible. And they weren't able to do that tonight with Davion getting into foul trouble. And there was a lot of Kings that were in foul trouble. Terrence Davis fouled out in 16 minutes of play. I don't think I've ever seen Terrence Davis have that kind of foul trouble before. Domantas Sabonis again. Oh no, Domantas was not in foul trouble. De'Aaron was in foul trouble. He had 4 fouls. It was definitely the story of the first half for sure. It was not a pretty game. The Kings have not been able to defend without fouling. It has been an incredibly consistent trend in the past, at least in the past 2 games. I don't really remember how many fouls are in the Portland game, which feels like a month ago at this point. But yeah, I mean, on this back-to-back right here, the Kings have really, really struggled to defend without fouling. And that's something I know Mike Brown is going to harp on is figuring out, because it's a really, really fine line between defending aggressive. You see the Kings constantly putting pressure on the ball, always in somebody's face. But the problem is they're getting beat. The second they're playing almost too far up and just getting killed at the point of attack. Someone else who I think has struggled before tonight was Rashawn Holmes. It was great to see Rashawn find his game. If Rashawn can have even a portion of the night he had tonight, I think that's going to do wonders for the Kings. Rashawn has been pretty MIA the first two games, and I thought tonight he was able to get a lot more touches than he has in the first two games. It definitely showed. He had 15 points on 6 of 8 shooting, 5 rebounds. I thought he was super active. He's a little bit handsy defensively. He got a foul in the corner on Jordan Poole that wasn't really necessary. He gets caught sometimes putting, with his hand in the cookie jar a lot. But I was very pleased with what I saw from Rashawn Holmes tonight. Kevin Huerter he came back down to earth. I mean, Kevin's been shooting, as they call him in Atlanta. Kayvon has been shooting the lights out for the Kings the first two games. Really, really struggled tonight. 3 of 14, 1 of 8 from 3, and hit that 3 late in the game. Really, really tough game from Kevin Huerter. Casey Okpala, super interesting to me. He only got 4 minutes tonight. Played the first 3, took him out for Keegan, and didn't see the floor until I think it was the end of the third quarter. Mike Brown did a little offense for defense switch with him and Malik Monk, but that was the only minutes for Casey Okpala. I'm not his biggest fan, but Chimezie Metu, I thought, gave the Kings really good minutes tonight. Mike Brown opted to go with him instead of Domantas Sabonis down the stretch and throughout the entirety of the fourth quarter. And I thought it was really big. I thought Mezzi was able to play super switchable on defense. And I was really impressed. And I think Mezzi might have earned himself another shot at getting some time here in the future. Really good game from Mezzi. Congrats, man, because I think he really needed that because he just has not been able to crack this rotation. Terrence Davis, I thought, had a nice little stretch before he fouled out of being aggressive, coming off the bench. Ooh, voice crack. Trying to be that microwave. And then, got to talk about this, man. I feel like I've been putting it off. Keegan Murray was absolutely incredible. I mean, he just continues to impress. His shooting wasn't as lights out as it's been the first couple games, or I'm sorry, he's only played one game. But from what we've seen from him in the past, he was not that lights out. But boy, oh boy, it's still Keegan Murray through. I mean, I think he's played 6 or 7 total games for us with the Kings. He's gotten to the point for me, and again, I feel like I feel like I'm going to be stating this for a couple months. I was not a Keegan Murray supporter when they drafted him. I really was on the Jaden Ivey hive, like I'm sure a lot of you were. I was not a believer. I just didn't think it was going to translate. I knew he would be an excellent spot up shooter, but from what I've seen of his just general shot making, his floater game is very nice. His mid range, his ability to play off the pick and roll, I've been very surprised with. And even today, defensively, I thought he did really well on Draymond Green for a stretch of time. But, man, Keegan has reached the I'm surprised if he misses territory for me, which is not something I expected this early in his career. So big hats off to Keegan. Malik Monk also, I thought, had a great game, 16 points, 8 assists. I have been incredibly impressed with Keegan, or I'm sorry, with Malik Monk's passing ability and just ability to be a secondary playmaker, which I think the second unit really, really needs, because Davion just has not been that secondary playmaker that this team needs. I believe that's see, I almost forgot about Harrison Barnes here. I'm not Christopher Laud. Sactones. There's 2 Chris's that work for the station. Christopher Laud, and I'm the other Chris. That's how it goes. Last but not least, well, actually tonight he honestly was the least. Harrison Barnes, just honestly was a no-show tonight. I really didn't notice him much at all. Kind of been a trend for him these past couple games. I don't know what's going on with Harrison. It's a contract year for him. He's 30 years old. This could potentially be his last chance at getting a really big payday. And he does not seem I don't know if it's motivated or what, but he's just not finding his game, and is really, really struggling to have any sort of impact on these games. And it'll be interesting to me, with Keegan playing well. I don't think they would bench Barnes for Keegan, but HB only plays 21 minutes tonight. Kind of got the same treatment as Domas, where I don't think he came in. Let me see if he played, how much he played in that third quarter. He played, Harrison Barnes, 16 minutes. So he played 5 minutes in that third quarter and then did not see the floor again the rest of the game. Very, very interesting. That tells me that at least Mike Brown is also seeing this as well and is looking for other answers. He's not just going to go to the guys that he's not just going to be like, oh, Harrison Barnes is our starting small forward. He's a name. We're for sure I'm not going to lose with Harrison Barnes on the bench. He's not afraid to put in the guys that he believes in and believes that are going to give us the best chance at winning. And I thought it was interesting that we saw some lineups that we haven't seen before. We saw De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk with Herter, Keegan, and I believe it was Rashawn as well. That was the first time we've seen that lineup. We also saw one with Terrence Davis as well. Super interesting. So Mike Brown is trying stuff. He's definitely not set on his rotations. I think he's looking to get a style of play that he likes. And I think we saw something like that in that third quarter. I mean, they allowed 50 points in that second quarter. In the third, toned it all the way down to allowing 24. So something definitely changed in that second half. The Kings were a much better team in the second half. It would have been hard to be a worse team in the second half, to be honest. But it was surprising. All in all, I don't know if I'll remember this game more for the 89 points in the first, or it being only a 5-point loss and for them coming back the way they did. But one last note before I get out here, because I did see somebody mention that the Kings shot 25% from three, which is their lowest mark of the season. They still shot 43 threes, which is let me pull up here. I know in that first game they shot 44 threes against the Blazers, and last night against the Clippers they shot 35. So the Kings are putting them up, regardless of whether or not they're knocking them down. The Kings are trying to put up a ton of threes, and that is definitely something to monitor moving forward. If they're going to knock down 25% of their threes, I'm not entirely sure they should be taking 43 of them. Those are all my thoughts. Let me see. I'll give a couple minutes here if anyone has any questions in the chat or any comments that I'd like to mention here. Let's see. I definitely agree here. Too many threes. Take the ball to the basket. There was a lot of times where I thought they settled for threes, and there was Keegan had one where towards the end of the game right there, he opted to pull for a three, and he kind of had a wide open lane and probably could have gotten a pretty easy dunk, but again, opted to take that three. Herter had a similar play down the stretch. I thought that was interesting. Do I think Harrison Barnes is garbage? I do not think Harrison Barnes is garbage. I just think he's kind of all about expectation. I think he's I don't know if this is going to come off as disrespectful, but I just think he's an average small forward in this league, average starting small forward in this league. I think you can do a whole lot better than Harrison Barnes for sure. We see the Paul Georges. I think Andrew Wiggins is a better small forward for sure than Harrison Barnes. Obviously, there's the superstar levels, but you can also do a lot worse than Harrison Barnes. There's tons of guys who the Kings could throw out at their starting small forward spot, and they would be. I mean, I don't know if they would be less productive than Harrison at this point, but Harrison has skills. He's definitely not a complete scrub out there. He's just not, for whatever reason, been able to find his comfort zone so far through a couple games this season. Should the Kings have drafted Benedict Mathurin? He looks amazing. I mean, sure, hindsight's 2020 always, right? I'm not willing to give up on Keegan yet, or I'm not giving up on Keegan at all. But I don't know if I'm willing to go as far as saying Benedict Mathurin is the star of this draft, or is the guy that we're going to look back and Benedict Mathurin's going to be on the graphic of the Kings took Keegan Murray and could have had Benedict Mathurin. I think Mathurin's one heck of a player for sure. But let's not forget that he's also on an Indiana team that is kind of strapped for talent, and he's going to get a ton of opportunity to get a lot of points there. But Benedict Mathurin is one heck of a player for sure. And I think he would be an interesting fit on this Kings team for sure. Let's see here. Start the rookie. He's really making it tough he's giving Mike Brown some tough choices here because KZ Okpala again played 4 minutes tonight. He did not go back to Harrison Barnes in that third quarter or in the fourth quarter. Keegan played 38 minutes. That's a team high. It's a cliche that, it's not about who starts, it's about who finishes, but Keegan at this point needs to be on the floor as much as he can. So I don't think it'll happen relatively anytime soon, but for sure, absolutely, Keegan Murray will be a starter on this team in the future. Absolutely. Let's see here.
Coach definitely said that Keegan could start next game.
See, I got Brendan Nunez here sitting next to me. Brendan just broke some news for me, so I guess go ahead.
What's up, people? Coach did say post-game, Frankie asked him about Keegan, or somebody else asked him about Keegan potentially starting, and he said, well, Keegan did start the second half, so he could start at any point here. So
there you go.
That means next game.
There you have it. So there's a chance. There is a chance that we do see Keegan Murray in the starting lineup sooner than later. Which I think would be welcome at this point. And, again, with the Kings starting 0-3, it's not panic mode by any stretch, but they definitely need to get things into gear really, really soon here. Let's see if there's any other comments. Ain't doing much. Keegan should be out there. I mean, for sure, again, like tonight was not the best example, but HB has been very, very quiet these past couple games. KZ is not going to bring you a lot offensively. I thought KZ yesterday against the Clippers played great defense, and that's what he's here to do. But, they're not really the same player. I don't and I've brought this up a couple times. I think the problem with bringing Keegan into that starting lineup, especially if you're going to take KZ and put him on the bench, is that then you really don't have much bench scoring. It's kind of down to Malik Monk at that point. And, Malik's been super hot or cold this year. Tonight, he was excellent. He was super hot. He was 6 of 15 from the field, 16 points, again, 8 assists, which I thought was huge for the team. I mean, he was a great secondary playmaker, but you're not getting that every night. I think coming into tonight, Malik Monk had 6 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists in the combined 2 games. So it's a delicate balance for sure if you're gonna start playing with the pieces. Let's see here. Davion needs to looking like he needs Thursday is the next game. That's not for a while. Not too happy about that one, but at least it gives them a couple days to kind of figure things out, readjust, and again, kind of rest because after this back-to-back with these 2 tough teams, the Kings definitely need to go back to the drawing board. And I think that will I think that's going to do it for the Sactown Sports Kings recap. Thank you all so much for joining me here today, live from Chase Center. Be sure to check us out on YouTube after every single Sacramento Kings game. It will be a rotating cast of hosts that you'll get. You'll get myself, you'll get Nick Cattles, you'll get Rami, you'll get Carmichael Dave. You never know who you're going to get when you tune into the Sactown Sports Kings recap. Thank you all for joining me. please be sure to like this video so more people can see it and more people know what we're doing. We're trying to expand all of our digital platforms and all of our digital content. So the more people see it, the more content we can provide for you. Be sure to subscribe to the Sactown Sports 1140 YouTube channel so you can get these videos on your feed without having to routinely check. You can also set notifications if you want to get clips. We post daily clips of our morning show and afternoon show. So, we got it all here at Sactown Sports. So thank you all for joining me. Appreciate it. I have to drive home now. Thank you all for joining. Bye-bye.